We are here with His Excellency Hassan al-Thawadi, the Secretary General of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, essentially one of the key players in preparing Qatar for the 2022 World Cup. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's more than 500 days away still, but no matter what, we are going to be going to this World Cup in the shadow of COVID-19. How does the World Cup look in this circumstance, in the midst of a pandemic?
How different? I mean, well, to start off with, the World Cup itself, apart from COVID, in itself is a very unique World Cup. It's the first time that this World Cup is in the Middle East and an Arab world. It's a compact World Cup, which means that fans will be able to see more than one match a day. Players will be able to stay in one place rather than traveling and so on. Actually, the World Cup before that was in Russia. The one that's coming, big distances. The one that's coming in the US, Canada, and Mexico. So in itself, the World Cup itself is unique, and I can explain that a little bit later. But with COVID, I think this will be the opportunity potentially to be the first truly global event where everybody can come and hopefully celebrate together overcoming this pandemic. I mean, you're seeing now signs of a sense of normalcy coming back, obviously with a few of the, a few obstacles coming along the way. But I think as the vaccine becomes more and more available, as more and more people are vaccinated, as teams are vaccinated, we're hoping that it will be, and we're optimistic that it will be the first truly global celebration in Qatar in 2022.
Yeah, well, vaccinations, it sounds like, are going to be pretty much mandatory. For those who can receive them, I suppose.
I mean, as of yet, obviously, every country's got its own restrictions, but I think it's a given from what from everything that we've seen. I'm not a medical expert in this, but it's a given that vaccinations today seem to be the solution towards overcoming COVID. That's what it's. And if you see other tournaments, for example, today, the Euros, for example, are playing as we speak right now. There's Copa America as well. The Common Ball in South America is being played right now as we're speaking, and in July, there's the Gold Cup as well. And all of them have a form of COVID protocols being implemented.
How about masks?
I mean, again, I think with the advent of the vaccines, as we move along, I don't want to anticipate exactly what will be required. What I can tell you and assure you is one thing. Over the last year or so, we've been able to host major tournaments, major events, whether it was the West Asian Champions League, East Asian Champions League, the Champions League Finals, the Club World Cup, and many other events. We've implemented a robust COVID protocol that looked at a tracking and tracing system, looked at ensuring there's social distancing and so on. And we've been, let's say, at the avant-garde of COVID protocols to ensure that we host events, the progress continues, whether it's in terms of construction or otherwise, in a safe manner so that everybody involved, their health and well-being is our priority. So rest assured, when 2022 comes, we will be hosting a safe event, and we are optimistic that it will be the first major tournament where everybody who wants to attend will be able to attend and celebrate in Qatar.
Is there anything you're watching specifically from the Tokyo Olympics?
Our habit, our nature has been that, since we've won the right to host the World Cup in 2010, we've always learned from every tournament. But nothing in specifics,
I mean, you're watching it, you'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, absolutely. Well, to add, we've got people in the Euros right now, so we've got people spread throughout Europe right now looking at the Euro tournaments and looking at the COVID protocols that they have over there, learning from their operational experiences. We've got people that will be in North America as well, in the United States during the Gold Cup. We're learning, obviously, from South America and Brazil right now with Common Ball, and there's no doubts that we'll be looking towards Tokyo and learning from what they have.
Back more than a decade ago now, when this tournament was initially envisioned, there was some talk that it would be sort of a Gulf event. Now that relations between Qatar and Saudi Arabia, the UAE in particular, are patched up, do you foresee, fans traveling back and forth between those countries?
It was always a Gulf event.
Well, obviously, it couldn't have been if the embargo was ongoing.
You mean the blockade? But
Bloomberg style.
It was always a Gulf event. I mean, from you know, from day one, when we had the intention to bid, and throughout the entire journey, we always said this was a Middle Eastern Arab tournament. You know, our first presence after we submitted our bid intention was actually in Beirut with the sports ministers, the Arab sports ministers, to submit the idea and the concept of the World Cup. And since then, it's never changed. During the blockade, we hosted the Gulf Cup, which is our local regional tournament. We had fans come in from Bahrain, we had fans coming in from Saudi Arabia, we had fans coming in. So our doors were always open, and it will always continue being open.
But do you expect, you know, tourists to spend a bunch of time maybe in Dubai and then fly over here? Is that actually a part of your hospitality, you know,
we
vision
always said
as well?
This tournament is an opportunity for building bridges. It's an opportunity for the outside world to know who we are, not only as Qataris, but essentially as the Middle East and the Arab world. It's an opportunity for people, for the first time in their lives, they'll be traveling to this region. They might have a preconceived notion of who we are. So this is the first time for them, and because truly the World Cup in football is one of the most widespread common denominators. If we're talking about people-to-people diplomacy, the ability to break down stereotypes, and for people to know each other on a personal basis, this is one of the most transformative opportunities, and we saw that in Russia. People had a preconception about Russia. They came, they experienced it, and they left. So there's no doubts that we hope that when people come to Qatar, experience the World Cup, experience what we have, but absolutely then be able to grasp this opportunity and get to know the region as well, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's talk about preconceptions about the region then, because I know that the single most frequent question that you're probably asked, you know, is, will there be alcohol? Obviously, there's alcohol served in five-star hotels here. I understand there are going to be fan zones. Do you see the expansion of the ability to perhaps purchase alcohol outside of what's currently available anymore between now and 2022?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to highlight. First, you know, as is known, alcohol is not part of our culture, but hospitality is part of our culture. And accordingly, we, you know, as you said, alcohol currently is available. We have been exploring opportunities and different models where we can, where alcohol will be available and served in certain designated areas. It will not be available freely in public, but it will be available in designated areas. And we've had a very successful live example of this concept when we hosted the 2019 World Cup.
But anything more from what you've already tried out?
Well, this is what I was going to say. In 2019, when we hosted the Club World Cup, we had fans coming in from Liverpool, from Mexico, from Brazil, and so on. And we had a designated fan zone area where alcohol was served. And it turned out to be quite a successful project. Now, of course, we will replicate this in certain areas so that whoever wants to have a drink will be able to have access to a drink. It will not be available on the streets or in public areas, but it will be available in designated areas. And for whoever wants to have a drink, it'll be readily available.
Okay, readily available. I want to understand as well, you know, in terms of the fan experience, sort of, this is a conservative country. What's your philosophy with respect to how modesty and behavior standards that normally exist here are going to be enforced, upheld when there are fans from different cultures here?
I think first it's important to highlight, this is not, you know, the state of Qatar has hosted many international tournaments. It has hosted many international conferences. So it's not, you know, we're very much accustomed to hosting people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, from different parts of the world. And accordingly, we've all, you know, we're very, as I said, we're a very hospitable nation. Now, obviously, there are certain norms, you know, as we're a progressively conservative nation. There's, you know, public display of affection is something that's not part of our culture. And what we ask, and I think most host nations, the beauty of it is a host nation can showcase its culture to the outside world. And as is always, you know, when people visit, they always take into consideration the host nation's cultures and norms.
Okay.
Just to add one last element, but to ensure that that is, you know, to ensure that that's communicated. So what we've done, for example, I use the example of the 2019 Club World Cup because that's probably, you know, the best example. We engage with fans in Liverpool, we engage with Mexican fans, Brazilian fans. We, you know, as we engaged, we communicated with them, and there was a lot of great lessons learned. One of them was communicating with the fans. Some of them have concerns. Some of them have specific concerns. Some of them have, you know, widespread concerns, either based on misconception or lack of knowledge. It is upon us as well to explain that, to make them feel comfortable. And accordingly, I think it's safe to say that most of the fans that came it was probably, you know, a great experience that they left with a desire to come back in 2022.
Woman shows up in shorts and a tank top to go to the mall. Does she get in during the World Cup, or is that...
I mean, these policies, you know, the malls are private institutions, so I can't really comment on that specific element.
Is the government going to go out to business owners, say, you know, give everyone a little slack?
Look, what I can tell you is this much, you know, the World Cup is an opportunity for celebration. And accordingly, everybody that will come will feel comfortable and feel welcome. And to the extent that there's, you know, we will make sure that everybody feels comfortable, everybody's here to celebrate, and everybody will enjoy the tournament.
Okay. How about violations? Things like public drunkenness, indecency, you know, public displays of affection to a different level. I mean, are these things going to be handled in the Qatari courts, or will there be a new policy for...
I mean, I can't get into the details of it just because we're, you know, there's a plan put in place, and this is obviously a mandate of you know, within a certain section of the government that's looking into this. But what I want to do is alleviate the concern, right? Okay. Because the questions are coming out, and, you know, and I sense, I might be mistaken, but I sense a sense of, let's say, uncertainty and maybe apprehension. But I keep saying again, we've had people living here for, you know, again, people from different walks of life that have made Qatar their home. People from different backgrounds that have made Qatar their home over the last 20, 30, 40 years. We've hosted many major tournaments, major events. People have come here, you know, and gradually tourism is gradually increasing as well, or let's say expanding. It's, you know, this isn't an isolated country, and it's not a country that's not aware of other cultures and other norms. And, you know, we are truly looking to welcome the world, and everybody that comes, I'm happy, I'm aware that everybody that's come has always wanted to come back, and everybody that's come has been excited for what 2022 will hold. And that's what the assurance that I want to provide people. And I want to provide yourself as well, and everybody else.
Well, I mean, you know,
it's
right.
You know, it's not something that we, you know, we've hosted tournaments like, you know.
But of course, this is a bigger, you know, this is a bigger scale.
Absolutely. But again,
and it draws criticism, like protests and things like that.
Absolutely.
And so,
absolutely.
So you guys are developing a plan, essentially.
No, we're developing a plan, but it's not as if it's coming out of a vacuum. You know, we've had trade unions that have come and protested in Qatar. We've had, you know, NGOs coming and, you know, issuing their reports that have, you know, criticized certain elements or certain aspects on Qatar. It's not, what I'm trying to say is it's not being done out of a vacuum. And we've developed throughout the years. And the one thing that I think people can attest to is that we have been, you know, we're an open society. You know, and everybody's, as I said, everybody's welcome. That's the only way that I can say it. And I keep on repeating it because it's important for the world to know. This is truly, you know, for us, a very important opportunity to, you know, to maybe, to a certain extent, dispel a lot of the inaccurate concerns that people have about Qatar, and not only about Qatar, but the region generally.
Two more things I want to get quickly through before we run out of time. One of the legacy bits that I know has been very important to you has been to try and give more freedoms to workers, particularly migrant workers, within the scope of the law reforms.
System, yes.
Anything more you want to see happen before the tournament?
I mean, look, you know, it's very important to highlight one thing: the commitment and the progress that has happened over the last few years. And again, just to highlight where the progress is, today we are, I think, leading the region in terms of worker welfare reforms, in terms of legislation, and moving towards implementation. The Supreme Committee has made significant contribution towards the worker welfare reforms in a way where in certain areas we actually have created a global benchmark. So when it comes, for example, to recruitment fees, today I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we're second to Apple in ensuring remittances or recruitment fees are repaid to workers. That was all done out of a commitment and, you know, to our own values, to our own sense of, you know, to the strong belief that we have that everybody living in Qatar or contributing to the development of Qatar is treated with dignity. Their health and safety and security is of the utmost concern to us. Having said that, that means the progresses will continue. And it's not what needs to be done until the tournament. Rather, it is a continuous commitment to progress. Even after the tournament, progress will happen on this. I mean, again, as I've always said, there's not a single nation in the world today that can claim that they have the perfect labor system. or the perfect worker welfare regime. And we're no different. Progress needs to be done, more work needs to be done, implementation, learning from mistakes, learning from what works and what doesn't work, enhancing what works, reconfiguring what doesn't work, and moving forward on that.
I'll ask you a last one, and I'm going to get in trouble because we're going over time.
Please.
There's been lots of talk about using the World Cup to catalyze sports investment. How do you see that, just quickly?
Well, simply put, I mean, this is a major tournament. Obviously, major tournaments or international tournaments usually have a cascading effect on the economy on different sections, different sectors. Today, we anticipate the contribution to the economy essentially would be around about $20 billion, circa $20 billion.
Okay.
That's the assumption. Again, it's very high-level studies. Once the tournament ends, we'll be able to make a proper assessment. Significant portion goes towards the construction industry. Another portion goes towards tourism industry. And when we say that, obviously, there's a cascading effect there. We're talking about hospitality sector. We're talking about the transfer of knowledge in terms of hosting major events. And it's a catalyst towards the sports economy, no doubts about that. And when we're talking about that, we're talking about, obviously, sports technology, event management, hospitality management, and so on and so forth. So I think it all depends on how you utilize it. And what we're trying to do in the tournament, with the tournament, is try to utilize it. We've always said this is a tournament, it's a transformative tournament, but more importantly, it is not imposed on the country's development plans. Rather, it's meant to serve as an engine to push forward and accelerate a lot of the initiatives that the government has already committed to, already had planned, whether it's in terms of urban development or economic diversification.
But we love numbers here at Bloomberg. That $20 billion figure is a nice one to have.
Absolutely,
nice one to
but again, it's based on a very high-level study. It's based on a very high-level study. We will be confirming it. Obviously, once the tournament is over, we'll be able to actually look at the direct assessment and be able to break down the number even more.